My name is Detective Marcus Johnson, and for 15 years, I've been part of the city's SWAT team. I've faced down armed criminals, rescued hostages, and seen the worst humanity has to offer. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what Karen Williams would do to my daughter. My little girl Emma is 12 years old and has been in a wheelchair since she was born with spina bifida. She's the brightest, most cheerful kid you'll ever meet. Every morning before school, she wheels herself around our neighborhood, saying hello to everyone she meets. "Morning, Mr. Peterson," she calls out to our elderly neighbor. "Morning, sunshine," he always calls back. Emma loves people and people love her. At least most people do. We moved to Willowbrook Estates 2 years ago because the streets were smooth for Emma's wheelchair and the neighbors seemed friendly. The HOA president, Karen Williams, even welcomed us with a fruit basket. "We're so happy to have you here," she had said with a perfect smile. I should have known that smile was fake. It started small like it always does with bullies. A letter in our mailbox about unauthorized modifications to our home. We had installed a wheelchair ramp, something any reasonable person would understand was necessary. "Mrs. Williams," I called her after reading the letter. "This ramp is for my daughter's wheelchair. She can't get in the house without it." "I understand your situation," Karen said in that fake sweet voice. "But you need HOA approval for any exterior modifications. The rules apply to everyone." "It's a basic accessibility ramp," I said, trying to stay calm. "It's required by law." "Not in my neighborhood," she said. "You have 30 days to remove it or face daily fines." I hung up the phone, my jaw clenched tight. In my line of work, you learn to recognize dangerous people quickly. Karen Williams was dangerous, not because she carried weapons but because she carried power and prejudice. The harassment escalated quickly. Karen started following Emma during her morning rides, taking pictures and making notes. She sent us violation notices for everything imaginable. Emma's wheelchair tire marks on the sidewalk constitute property damage. Wheelchair storage in garage violates aesthetic guidelines. Disabled parking sign creates neighborhood eyesore. Each letter made my blood boil hotter. But Emma, sweet Emma, tried to make peace. "Maybe I should stop going on rides, Daddy," she said one evening, tears in her brown eyes. "Absolutely not," I said, kneeling beside her wheelchair. "This is your home. You belong here just as much as anyone else." But inside I was planning. In SWAT, we call it reconnaissance, learning everything about your target before you strike. I started documenting every interaction, every letter, every violation notice. Karen Williams had no idea she was messing with someone who knew how to fight back. Karen's master plan revealed itself 3 months later. She called a neighborhood meeting to discuss quality of life issues. Almost everyone showed up, except us. We weren't invited. Mrs. Chin from next door called to warn me. "Marcus, they're voting on new rules tonight. Rules that seem aimed directly at Emma." I put on civilian clothes and walked to the community center. Through the windows, I could see Karen presenting her neighborhood improvement plan to about 30 residents. "Property values have declined since certain elements moved in," she was saying. "We need stronger regulations to maintain our community standards." On her presentation screen were photos of Emma in her wheelchair, of our ramp, of Emma playing with neighborhood kids. "Medical equipment stored outside homes creates an unwelcoming atmosphere," Karen continued. "Children with special needs require special supervision that disrupts normal neighborhood activities." My hands clenched into fists. She was talking about my daughter like she was a problem to be solved. "All in favor of the new accessibility restrictions?" Karen asked the room. A few hands went up hesitantly. Most people looked uncomfortable, but they weren't speaking up. That's when Mrs. Peterson, the elderly woman from across the street, stood up. "Karen Williams, you should be ashamed of yourself," she said in a shaky but determined voice. "That little girl brings more joy to this neighborhood than you ever have." "Mrs. Peterson, please sit down," Karen snapped. "You're out of order." "No, you're out of order," Mr. Chin called out, standing up too. "Emma is a sweet child. These rules are cruel and unnecessary." More neighbors started standing up, voicing their support for Emma. Karen's face turned red with anger as her perfect plan fell apart. "Fine," she shouted. "If you people want to live in a neighborhood that looks like a hospital, that's your choice. But don't come crying to me when your property values crash." She stormed out, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. Karen Williams wasn't done with us. Not even close. 2 weeks later, Karen struck back with her most vicious attack yet. I was at work, practicing tactical maneuvers with my SWAT team when my phone rang. "Mr. Johnson?" An unfamiliar voice said. "This is Principal Martinez from Willowbrook Elementary. We need you to come to school immediately. There's been an incident with Emma." My heart stopped. "Is she hurt?" "She's fine physically, but there are serious allegations. Please come right away." I broke every speed limit getting to Emma's school. In the principal's office, I found my daughter crying in her wheelchair, a police officer standing nearby, and Karen Williams sitting smugly in the corner. "What's going on?" I demanded. Principal Martinez looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Williams has accused Emma of threatening other children with her wheelchair." I stared at him in disbelief. Threatening other children? With her wheelchair? "She claims Emma has been ramming into kids on purpose, using her wheelchair as a weapon." Karen spoke up with fake concern in her voice. "I've seen it myself, officer. This child is dangerous. She deliberately ran into my grandson yesterday." I looked at Emma, who was sobbing quietly. "Emma, honey, tell me what really happened." Through her tears, Emma explained. "Tyler was picking on Sarah Martinez, calling her names. I rolled between them and told him to stop. I never hit anyone, Daddy. I would never hurt anyone." The police officer, Detective Ray Morrison, was someone I knew from the force. He gave me a meaningful look that said he wasn't buying Karen's story either. "Mrs. Williams," Detective Morrison said, "do you have any witnesses to this alleged assault?" "My grandson Tyler saw everything," Karen said confidently. "I'll need to interview him separately," Morrison replied. Within an hour, the truth came out. Tyler Williams admitted that Emma had never touched him. He also revealed that his grandmother had coached him to lie about Emma being dangerous. Grandma Karen said the wheelchair girl needed to be taught a lesson, Tyler confessed to Detective Morrison. "She said if I helped her, she'd buy me a new video game." Detective Morrison's face hardened. False reporting was a serious crime, and using a child to make false accusations was even worse. "Karen Williams," Detective Morrison said formally, "you're under arrest for filing a false police report and child endangerment." Karen's perfect composure finally cracked. "You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president. I was protecting our community." "You filed a false report against a disabled child," Morrison replied as he put handcuffs on her wrists. "You coached your grandson to lie to police. That's not protecting anyone, that's harassment and abuse." The whole school watched as Karen was led away in handcuffs. Emma stared in shock. "Is she really arrested, Daddy?" she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart," I said, holding her hand. "She can't hurt you anymore." But I was wrong. Karen's arrest was just the beginning of our fight. Karen's wealthy husband hired the best lawyers money could buy. They painted her as a concerned community leader who was just trying to maintain neighborhood safety. My client was protecting children from a potentially dangerous situation, her lawyer argued in court. A wheelchair can cause serious injury if not properly supervised. The prosecutor, District Attorney Sarah Kim, wasn't having it. Mrs. Williams targeted a disabled child with systematic harassment, DA Kim said. She filed false reports, coached a child to lie, and attempted to have an innocent 12-year-old girl arrested. This isn't about safety, it's about discrimination. I sat in the courtroom every day watching the legal battle unfold. Emma couldn't understand why the nice lady who gave us fruit basket had been so mean to her. While the lawyers fought in court, I used my SWAT training to investigate Karen's past. What I found was disturbing. Karen had a pattern. In her previous neighborhood, she had harassed a family with an autistic son until they moved away. Before that, she had led a campaign against a veteran with PTSD who used a service dog. I contacted these families and convinced them to testify. One by one, Karen's victims came forward to tell their stories. "She made our lives hell," said Maria Santos, mother of the autistic boy. "She called social services on us 6 times. She claimed our son was dangerous and needed to be institutionalized. She tried to get my service dog banned from the neighborhood," testified Army veteran James Wright. "She said PTSD wasn't a real disability and I was faking it for attention." The pattern was clear. Karen Williams targeted disabled people and their families, using her position as HOA president to harass them until they left. As news of Karen's arrest spread through the neighborhood, something beautiful happened. The community rallied around Emma in a way I never expected. Mrs. Peterson organized a support rally in our front yard. Dozens of neighbors showed up with signs reading, "We love Emma," and "Disabilities don't define us." The neighborhood kids made Emma a giant card signed by everyone at school. Local businesses offered to donate money for Emma's medical expenses. "Your daughter has touched so many hearts," Mrs. Chin told me. "Karen thought she could divide us with hate, but Emma united us with love." Emma was overwhelmed by the support. For the first time in months, she smiled her bright, genuine smile. "Maybe people aren't so bad after all, Daddy," she said. Karen's trial lasted 2 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Security cameras showed Emma never harming anyone. Multiple witnesses testified about Karen's harassment campaign. Even some of Karen's former supporters in the HOA testified against her. "She told us the disabled family would bring down property values," testified former HOA board member Linda Walsh. "She said we needed to make them feel unwelcome so they'd move away." The most powerful testimony came from Tyler, Karen's own grandson. Now free from his grandmother's manipulation, he told the truth about everything. "Grandma Karen hated Emma because she used a wheelchair," Tyler said. "She said disabled people were weak and didn't belong in nice neighborhoods." When it was Emma's turn to testify, she showed courage that amazed everyone in the courtroom. "I never wanted to hurt Mrs. Williams," Emma said from her wheelchair at the witness stand. "I just wanted to be her friend. I don't understand why she was so mean to me." There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours before returning with a guilty verdict on all charges: filing false police reports, child endangerment, harassment, and civil rights violations. Karen showed no remorse even after the verdict. "This is ridiculous," she shouted as the judge read her sentence. "I was trying to protect our community from undesirable elements." Judge Robert Hayes was not impressed. "Mrs. Williams, you targeted a disabled child with systematic harassment. You filed false criminal charges against her. You coached your own grandson to lie to police. Your actions were not just criminal, they were cruel and inhumane." Karen was sentenced to 2 years in prison, 5 years probation, and ordered to pay substantial damages to our family. She was also banned from serving on any HOA board ever again. With Karen gone, the HOA elected new leadership committed to inclusion and community building. Their first act was to formally apologize to our family and to every resident Karen had harassed. "We failed to protect our most vulnerable neighbors," said new HOA President Dr. Amanda Foster. "That will never happen again." They implemented new policies protecting residents from discrimination and harassment. They created a community fund to help families with disabled members make necessary home modifications. Most importantly, they established the Emma Johnson Award for community members who show exceptional kindness and inclusion toward people with disabilities. "Daddy, why was Mrs. Williams so scared of me?" she asked one evening as I tucked her into bed. "Some people are afraid of what they don't understand, sweetheart," I said. "But that's their problem, not yours." "I hope she learns that people in wheelchairs are just people," Emma said. "Maybe someday we can be friends." My daughter's capacity for forgiveness amazed me. Here was a 12-year-old girl showing more wisdom and grace than most adults ever achieve. Emma's story spread beyond our neighborhood. Local news picked it up, then national media. She became a symbol of resilience in the disability rights community. "Emma Johnson represents every disabled child who has faced discrimination," said disability rights advocate Dr. Michael Rodriguez. "Her courage to speak truth to power inspires us all." Emma was invited to speak at schools and community events about inclusion and acceptance. She always ended her speeches the same way: "Everyone is different, and that's what makes the world beautiful. We should celebrate differences, not fear them." 6 months into her prison sentence, Karen began writing letters to our family. At first, they were full of self-pity and excuses. "I was just trying to maintain community standards," she wrote. "I never meant any real harm." Emma wanted to write back, but I wasn't ready for that level of forgiveness yet. My daughter had suffered enough because of Karen's hatred. But as the months passed, Karen's letters changed. Prison counseling had forced her to confront her own prejudices and fears. "I realize now that my actions came from ignorance and fear," one letter said. "I was wrong about Emma, wrong about disabled people, and wrong about what makes a community valuable." 2 years after Karen's arrest, our neighborhood had transformed into something beautiful. Children of all abilities played together in the streets. Families looked out for each other. The community garden became a gathering place where everyone felt welcome. Emma, now 14, had grown into a confident young woman. She started a peer support group for kids with disabilities and their families. "I want to make sure no other kid goes through what I did," she told me. "But I also want them to know that mean people can't steal your joy unless you let them." Karen was released from prison but moved far away. Her last letter to Emma was different from all the others. "Dear Emma, I can never undo the hurt I caused you and your family. I spent 2 years in prison learning about the damage hatred can do. You showed me grace I didn't deserve and strength I didn't understand. I hope someday I can be half as brave as you are. 3 years after the trial, Emma received the Governor's Award for Courage and Community Service. The ceremony was held at the state capitol, with hundreds of people in attendance. Emma Johnson faced discrimination and harassment with dignity and grace, Governor Patricia Martinez said. She turned her pain into purpose, her struggle into strength, and her experience into education for others. Emma rolled onto the stage in her wheelchair, wearing her best dress and biggest smile. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. "Thank you for this honor," Emma said into the microphone. "But the real heroes are the neighbors who stood up for what was right, the friends who never made me feel different, and the family who taught me that kindness is always stronger than cruelty." She paused, looking out at the crowd. "Some people tried to make me feel ashamed of my wheelchair. But I learned that my wheelchair doesn't make me weak, it makes me unique. And being unique is a gift, not a problem." Today, Emma is 16 and thriving. She's an honor student, president of her school's Disability Awareness Club, and one of the most popular kids in her class. Our neighborhood has become a model for inclusion that other communities try to copy. Property values didn't crash like Karen predicted. They soared because people want to live in a place where everyone is valued and respected. The wheelchair ramp that started this whole conflict is still on our front porch, but now it's decorated with flowers that Emma plants every spring. Children use it as a bike ramp, elderly neighbors use it when walking gets difficult, and delivery drivers appreciate the easier access. "Daddy," Emma said to me last week as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, "do you think Mrs. Williams ever learned to see wheelchairs differently?" "I hope so, sweetheart," I said. "People can change if they want it badly enough." "I forgave her a long time ago," Emma said. "Not because she deserved it, but because carrying anger was too heavy for my heart. As a SWAT officer, I've seen evil in many forms. But Karen Williams taught me that some of the most dangerous people don't carry guns, they carry prejudice, power, and the ability to make others feel less than human. Emma taught me something even more important, that courage isn't about being unafraid. It's about being afraid but choosing love anyway. It's about facing hatred with kindness, meeting discrimination with dignity, and responding to cruelty with grace. Karen Williams thought she could arrest my daughter's spirit, but she was wrong. Emma's spirit is unbreakable, her joy is unstoppable, and her impact on our community will last forever. Every morning, Emma still wheels around our neighborhood, saying hello to everyone she meets. The difference now is that everyone says hello back, not because they have to, but because they want to. "Morning, Emma," calls out Mr. Peterson from across the street. "Morning," she calls back with that brilliant smile that could light up the darkest day. And in that simple exchange, in that moment of connection between two neighbors who value each other's humanity, the whole world becomes a little bit brighter. That's the real victory. Not just justice in a courtroom, but justice in daily life. Not just punishment for wrongdoing, but transformation toward righteousness. Not just the end of one person's reign of discrimination, but the beginning of a community built on inclusion instead of exclusion. Karen Williams tried to arrest my daughter's future, but instead she unleashed a movement that made our entire community stronger, kinder, and more beautiful than it had ever been before. And Emma? She's still rolling forward, still spreading joy, still proving every day that the most powerful force in the world isn't hatred or fear. It's love.